Be a great destiny of God on African Americans if the devil, just like the devil wanted to wipe out Jesus, and the devil wants to wipe out African American babies.
Yeah, and I know this is like a news flash and a shocker, but I have seen Jesus so many times, and he has dark skin. So he's Middle Eastern, and he's a very handsome man, but he's also God, but he still has his body. And I saw he's Middle Eastern.
Another area in Africa you have something big happening is in Nigeria. You have the Igbo people, or Igbo, pronounced either way. There's 40 million of them. Also Christians, like I spoke about before, how that could happen to the children of Israel very easily. But also a lot of them are now coming out and converting back or adopting the...
Welcome to What Matters with Splendiva.
It's high time for us to awake out of our sleep because it's clear that the world knows something about us that we simply do not know. You're about to see a series of clips which highlight statements made by European Jews and so-called white people. In these clips, they're going to acknowledge the fact that so-called black people are the original Israelites. However, these confessions are not without some type of string attached. Although there is an acknowledgement of who we are as a people, there's still an attempt to add false narrative to it. In other words, they say that we represent most or some of the tribes, and they still try to connect themselves as being one or more of the tribes. So pay attention to that as you watch these clips. Up next, some very eye-opening information about the real tribes of Israel. It's time to open your eyes.
And I'd like to now bring up another interesting place that you're finding descendants of the Israelites, but may not necessarily be from the 10 tribes, but will also play a role. And it shouldn't be overlooked. It's a very serious scenario. Is in Africa. Africa has perhaps hundreds of millions of people with this identity right now of being from the people of Israel. We're taught by the historians and within our own traditions that when the Romans conquered Judea, a few hundred years after that the tribes of Israel went into exile, perhaps millions of Judeans were sold into slavery. Into Africa, into Rome, deep into Africa. And if you look now, you're seeing people who are most likely the descendants of those slaves who kept true. I'd like to bring up a few specific examples because they're going to be game changers. One of them wrote letters to Israel when it became a state. And they said, we're Israelites out in Africa. You know, everyone laughed at them and they said, African Israelites, these people are just trying to jump on the first world country bandwagon. They're living in a third world country, they got nothing. We're coming to Israel, we got innovation, technology. So they're trying to get on this train because there's such a thing called the right of return. All descendants of the Jewish people from around the world were able to move to Israel. So they said we are also. And everyone kind of laughed at them, like I said. And a few people took it serious and went out there and started studying them, learned about their culture. And a professor from Duke University went out there and did DNA testing on them. And he showed not only do they share Semitic genes from people who were in Yemen and back to the Middle East, these gentlemen, a large percent of them, have the Y chromosome to be Kohanim, to be priests. Now, if anyone who doesn't know, a priest is a specific family clan of the nation of Israel who come from Aaron, the brother of Moses, who was the first priest. And anyone descended from Aaron has the status title priest. And we found that these men in this village in South Africa called Lemba, L-E-M-B-A, carry this genetic marker to let us know that they share the same as from the Sephardic and the Ashkenaz and the population of the people in Israel today. They share the same exact DNA marker. That's mind-blowing. So everyone kind of got humbled a little bit who laughed at them and said, now what? Now what do we do about this? This could have tremendous implications. Another area in Africa you have something big happening is in Nigeria. You have the Igbo people, or Igbo, pronounced either way. There's 40 million of them, also Christians, like I spoke about before, how that could happen to the children of Israel very easily. But also a lot of them are now coming out and converting back or adopting the rules of the Torah without all the paganism that they've been practicing for hundreds of years. There's been books written about it from scholars in Nigeria, from scholars from the Jewish people. And where it gets interesting is, in America, there was a slave trade. And a lot of the slaves, a very high percentage of them, came from Western Nigerian ports. And in America today, you see a very large movement of African Americans who say that they're the real chosen people, that they're the children of Israel, they're the Judeans. You know, so what are they just trying to create an identity for themselves because they were slaves, or is there really something here? And the answer is, most likely there is something there. And most likely, maybe that they were the original Israelites, and maybe that the Jewish people today who are white, Caucasian people came in a little bit later on. We know that some of the greatest sages of the transmission of the Torah were converts from Rome. You have a man named Onkelos who wrote a commentary on the Torah, unprecedented, that we still learn today. He was a convert. Some of the largest pillars on the transmission today were Roman converts. So here we are, we're Caucasian Jewish people, and now you have people in Africa saying that they're the real people of Israel. It can't be ruled out at all. We know they were sold into slavery. We know now that they're fulfilling prophecies by saying, we're coming back.
In a book called Hebrewism of West Africa, author Joseph J. Williams documents the Hebraic practices, customs, and beliefs which he found among the people of Jamaica and the Ashanti of West Africa. He initially examines the close relationship between the Jamaican and the Ashanti cultures and the folk beliefs. He then studies the language and culture of the Ashanti, of whom many Jamaicans have descended, by comparing them to well-known and established Hebraic traditions. The West African tribal nations that our forefathers were taken from have many ancient Hebrew customs in their culture. The Kafir, Bo, Grebo, Maribuk, Mavumba, Accra, Fanti, Akin, Yoruba, Congo, and Ashanti, just to name a few of the many sub-Saharan nations that engage in ancient Israelite rituals. In East Africa, in the country of Ethiopia, lived a people called Beta Yisrael, which means House of Israel. These brothers and sisters claim descendant from the biblical Israelite tribe of Dan. Dan was one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Beta Yisrael are black-skinned as an Israelite would be. They were given the name of Falashas, which means stranger and foreigner. Beta Yisrael is not indigenous to the country of Ethiopia. This is why they are called stranger by the inhabitants of that land.
Let me just reveal some things. First of all is that the Jews who were brought in Israel, most of them are white. Not most of them, almost all of them are white, including me. I was brought in Israel from a country which is called Bulgaria. It's a European country, and I can tell you that in every European country there are Jews, and there is so-called organization Jewish Agency, which is trying to take those Jews to Israel. If you track this organization, you can find out that this is not an Israeli organization. This is an American organization. Jewish Agency is an American organization which has the exclusive right to decide who is Jewish and who is not on this planet, and who to be taken to Israel and who's not. Now, if you do research, you will find out that in Africa, in Black Africa, they're looking for Jews only in Ethiopia. They bring Jews only from Ethiopia. And I can tell you by knowing a lot of people, Ethiopian Jews here in Israel, that they're treated very badly, very badly. And many of them commit suicide because they cannot take it. So they come from some place, Ethiopia, they don't have much there, but they live decent life. and when they come here and try to be humiliated and so on, some of them cannot even take it. Now, what I'm trying to say is that why from each white country this Jewish agency is trying to bring Jews, and when it's about Black Africa, they're going to Ethiopia, and this is where they stop. The only one place. Now, because of the same thing, they're trying to do the white supremacy here. They try to bring white guys here and to take the supremacy over Arabs, which are the local citizens, and over blacks, which are so far they're only the Ethiopian Jews. Now, what I'm trying also to say is that another question is why America needs Israel. In Israel there is no oil like in other Middle Eastern countries. There's nothing they can be attracted to. But why do they do all these things? Why do they invest money, bring white people and so on, when they build their system of white supremacy, just like in America they build in Israel? Why? And I can tell you why. Because the true Jews, according to the Bible, you can check it in the Bible, you can read Job 30 and some other places, they have never been white. They have been people of color. And they have not stopped in Ethiopia. They were in Ethiopia, Sudan, and they have settled in West Africa. From West Africa, they have been taken as slaves to America. Brothers and sisters, blacks of America, it's you. You are the true Hebrews. You are the true Hebrews from the Bible. America gonna do everything, gonna invest as much money as it has, gonna fight as much wars as they can, gonna invite as much weapons as they can just to hide this away from you. Gonna take Israel, gonna bring white people here and to tell you these are the Jews, gonna kill you, gonna kill Arabs, gonna mistreat white people like this guy just to tell you this lie that you are nobody and we are the Jews with all the history and so on. It has been deleted, your history. You don't know who you are. Don't forget about it. This is why America has been taking your history away, never to find out that it's all about you. I'm telling you this, please. I don't ask you to come to Israel and to start a revolution. I'm just asking you to start thinking this way, to believe me a little bit, because I'm living in Israel and I'm part of this injustice. I really believe that people like me and you, we can bring the justice back. Thank you.
Well, last time we spoke about the Judaic mind tricks, about it's the Jews that's running everything in the world. But today we have a group of people who are so holy and they've been praying and fasting for weeks and weeks, and they've gotten this knowledge through the Holy Spirit that in fact the Jews are in fact black Africans. Okay. Now this is of course all over the internet, all over YouTube, and I just when I saw these videos, I just said, well, you know, what have I been doing with my life the past 30 years? I thought I was born again. You know, I thought I was a believer in Messiah and saved, regardless of my background, if I'm Jewish or not, that I'm a spiritual Jew and so on. But this man explained that unless you're actually a black African, then you're not really accepted as a Jew. And I just got to say, it just makes total sense, because, you know, the whole continent of Africa, you know, when Jesus was speaking about his second coming, and as the lightning is seen from the east and to the west, then so will my coming be. And it's very obvious that to the east of Jerusalem you see is Africa, so it really means that the Jews are Africans. Okay, it just makes, the way he explained it, it was just like, wow, you know, it must be the black Africans. They must be the true Jews. And basically, it's just really enlightened me today. I really thank all these people online that have spoken these wonderful truths. Over 1 billion black Africans, not white, of course. There are some white Africans, but they don't count because they can't be Jewish if you're white. So you've got to be black African. You know, it doesn't count if you're black Indian or, you know, black Hawaiian, whatever it is. You've got to be black African. to basically be a true Jew, and just makes total sense, even though, you know, there's thousands of languages in Africa and cultures, and many of these Africans, I would say at least half, maybe more than half, didn't even see a Bible. Basically they were called, as far as the Christian evangelists went, they were the last frontier as far as that went, because the gospel really hadn't been preached in many towns and villages and even countries in Africa until about the 1800s. But besides that, of course, that's not to say, truthfully, that you know, 0.1% or something, some tribe, some tribes in Africa